Thanks for staying with us now as locals in popular holiday spots around the globe continue to protest that they view as over-tourism. Could your next destination be impacted?
Funny how you're on this one. Joining us to discuss this topic and more travel-related news is travel journalist Eoghan Corry.
Good morning to you, Eoghan.
Hey, Eoghan. Listen, let's talk quickly about Aer Lingus. It looks like there's the end in sight of cancellations.
Done and dusted, nothing to see. 5 rotations out of Dublin have been cancelled because of the work to rule today. That's the end of the work to rule that was in place. There's a Manchester, a Birmingham, 2 Heathrow and a New York. As of tomorrow, normal service resumes. Aer Lingus have responded to this by doing something that is really important for viewers this morning. They have a 5-day sale going through at the moment. Very good prices, obviously. The headline prices sometimes are gone by the time I've said them
like
on television.
$199 to New York.
$199 to New York, 20% off. And the difference is nobody has a peak season sale. The reason Aer Lingus...
Like they're sold.
They're usually sold, but Aer Lingus would be about 60-70% sold when the strike started. So that means they have a lot of seats to sell and they're discounting to sell them. So let's have a look at the peripheral routes, you know, the trunk routes, the Malaga Faras, all of those, quite expensive. Some people are also complaining, by the way, that the prices now are cheaper than what they paid back in February. Nothing can be done about that. You can't go to Aer Lingus and say, now you have a sale. I can't. It's like going to a shop.
But the more obscure routes might be good offers there. Yeah.
Minneapolis is a great one by the moment. It's one of the ones that 2 airlines came on together, some of the Italian routes, some of the Greek routes, and some of the Spanish routes that wouldn't be trunk routes. Have a look around. Really good prices out there for July and August. Very unusual to have a sale. That is peak season, and this is all down to the industrial action, which, as I say, is over.
So the pilots are balloting today, but it looks like they would ballot to accept it so that they'll be back on track. But the industrial action is finished from today, and tomorrow the routes are back to normal.
In the history of the Pilots Union, Alan, they've never voted less than about 90% in favour of what the executive says. That's what's happening. It's all over. There will be squeaky details and sort of that might come up. But no more strikes, no more industrial action. It's over.
Fantastic to hear. Now, over tourism. There's been protests. We've seen it in cafes and restaurants around the likes of Barcelona and certain areas. People being squirted at with their water pistols, telling to go home. What's going on there at the moment?
Really,
and where is this?
This is Venice. This is parts of Venice, is it?
There are 3 cities where this originated: Venice, Dubrovnik, Barcelona.
Okay.
Now, there's a little bit of in Amsterdam as well. Locals see too many tourists, noise, pressure, traffic congestion, even pedestrian congestion, the pressure on the local resources. And that's where one of the arguments against over-tourism is coming. What we've seen this summer is something quite interesting. Places that, like an old city built to keep an army out with a small narrow gate, isn't great for tourists coming in large numbers. 5 cruise ships in a day in Dubrovnik. The place is really under pressure. But we've seen places like the Balearic Islands, Majorca, the Canary Islands, people out protesting against over-tourism. Some of it is, as a notion, emissions, tourism is bad, travel is bad. But a lot of it is not a message against the tourists, it's against the local politicians. It's about housing, it's about rental prices, it's about this internet peer-to-peer Airbnb Verbo where you can let out an apartment. They're saying, I can't get an apartment, and they look at Airbnb and they see all the apartments on Airbnb.
It's like here.
And politicians are reacting, and this is a little bit dangerous. Politicians are saying, if we stop tourist rentals, they'll all end up in the long-term market. I'm not sure that cause and effect works.
I mean, if you're in Venice and there's 20 to 30 million visits per year, like you can understand the frustration from locals. But I know they have brought in something like an access fee then if you are going to go into Venice.
It's a trial this year. It's in for certain days during the year, and there was a reaction against it as well as people in favour. The former mayor is against it. The current mayor is in favour of it. It's not going to make a hell of a lot of difference because Venice is a magic word. There are loads of cities all around Europe who would love to be complaining about over-tourism.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you're looking at those scenes of, if I'm going on my holidays to Venice, you don't want to go on and see Venice.
I was in Barcelona on Sunday and I didn't see any anti-tourism. I was there, it's isolated events and you don't necessarily
see it. What about the Department
of
of Foreign Affairs from Ireland? Have they kind of flagged anything?
No.
And even is this something we're seeing in Ireland? Like, are there areas in Ireland that people are saying, the locals are saying, go away tourists.
Absolutely. I mean, we had Temple Bar for many years, locals complaining about the noise. We also, our roads, our rural roads are built for a different era. So when you have a huge influx of tourists, we were getting, pre-pandemic, and we'd be back to it, 11.5 million tourists to our island. We perform massively in international tourism. Now, the Galways and Temple Bars and places like that get a little bit crowded. And you ended up with the Ring of Kerry, for example, where the one-way system was brought because tour buses are going around a road that wasn't built for tour buses. You also have interesting that, for instance, the Star Wars mania, which was about 5 years ago, whatever, you had huge numbers coming to very vulnerable places like Skellig Michael, big crowds up in Malin Head. Loop Head is also part of that Star Wars, but Loop Head decided, please don't include us in the campaign. July, the farmers are getting their silage in, the roads are narrow. We really want to keep living in our area. So tourism is a double-edged sword in some ways. When I hear over-tourism, I just hear badly managed tourism.
So it can be managed well and still everybody benefiting from it.
Longford would love to be complaining about over-tourism.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'd love to hear from people who are in the Ring of Kerry or Wild Atlantic Way, Skellig Michael, you know, are you frustrated?
Parts of Dublin.
0896 111 111. I mean, what do you make of it? Is it brilliant? Do you welcome everybody in, or is it getting a little bit too much?
What we can change it all by coolcationing. What's that mean?
These words are made up.
Of course they are.
And I'd love to say, oh, this is terrible, they make up words, but I use them all the time myself.
So for coolcationing...
24 trends for 24, you're putting in words that are clearly made up.
Yeah, so this is places that are cooler than maybe, like, I was away last week and the heat in some parts of Europe is stifling at the moment. Don't know how kids are...
So where would you go?
Where's a cooler place, cooler spots?
They head north rather than south. That's the easiest way. I mean, Greece has been very warm in the last few weeks. Spain less so. The problem is that the number of flights we have to Scandinavia, for example, is very limited. So if everyone decides they're going to Scandinavia, there are more flights to Malaga in a day than there are to all the Scandinavian countries in a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if you're going to, let's look at prices and cool. Canada, hot stuff, it's continental climate, goes on. But Canada has 4 competing airlines on the Toronto route. Really good prices, even in high season. Scandinavia, one of them, Sweden and Norway are 2 of my favourite countries in the entire world.
But very expensive when you get there.
Expensive on the ground. But we come from Dublin, and there's very few places that are more expensive than Dublin.
The west coast of France, even Portugal, are a little bit cooler as well, aren't they? Their medium-term weather pattern is that we're in the second cycle of an El Nino, so it's going to be like 97, 98, 82, 83. We're likely to have heat waves this summer. What we saw last year, Portugal didn't suffer. And Portugal is key. The Faro route is our second busiest after Malaga, sun route out of Dublin. So head for Portugal, heading into Porto, Lisbon, North Coast, all of that coast. Alentejo, where Zara King was on her mini-moon. It wasn't a honeymoon.
Look at you now getting up with all the social gossip.
She asked me, I have to admit. But that's a less visited part of Portugal where the prices are amazing compared with just a few miles south to the Algarve. And as Tommy says, the west coast of France, magnificent ferry services, including the Dublin Irish ferries one, the Rosslare Stena. They are drive down 5 hours off the ferry, you're into the Vendée, gets more sunshine than Biarritz, and it doesn't get too hot.
Super advice.
For a family, it's amazing.
So, Corry.
Yeah. The good news is there are still some bargains left out there at the moment.
Right.
More than we've ever seen in the summer pre-pandemic.
Owen, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Some great news, and get yourselves booked up. We want to hear from you.